Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Newsgram. Being a human is hard. I know, the understatement of the day. We are faced with choices on a daily basis, and it's those choices that define us. They define us both individually and collectively. Yes, life can definitely be hard. And sometimes, when faced with those decisions, we make the right call. And when we do, things work out great. But other times, not so much. But we make the decisions, and then we deal with them, right? That's what builds character. To quote Mark Twain, good decisions come from experience. Experience comes from making bad decisions. So what happens when bad things happen to you, and it wasn't your decision? Well, it can be kind of hard to keep a sense of humor about it, that's for sure. Tom Wilson was once drafted into the Vietnam War. The U.S. has not had a draft since 1973, but back then things were different. You could be an 18-year-old kid with an M16 on your back on patrol in a Vietnamese jungle.
I just turned 18 years old when I went to Vietnam, and in fact, one of my nicknames there was called Kid, just because I was so young.
Tom was an infantryman, a job on paper that means to capture, destroy, and deter enemy forces. As the radio guy, he walked in front of the other men. Well, there he was, weighing in at a whopping 138 pounds, carrying a 45-pound radio pack on his back, a .45 caliber pistol, an M16, and plenty of hand grenades. He also had M16 clips, smoke grenades, and a bunch of other stuff.
I was a tank driver, and that's what I was trained for, but they needed guys, so I ended up being an infantryman, and then they, for some reason, looked at me and said that you're going to carry the radio. I had no clue what that meant, and found out later on it was about a 45-pound thing you put on your back, and then found out later on that that's one of the most dangerous jobs to have, because that's what they shoot at first. They see an antenna sticking up.
And, as you might expect, that's exactly what happened. In his new book, Shot in the Mouth and Still Preaching, Tom recounts his full experience.
We didn't realize that we was going into a horseshoe trap, and this was February 14th, Valentine's Day. We lost them. We stopped. I leaned my radio up against a tree, which I usually do because it's heavy, and I heard a zing going by me, and like I didn't fall. I just turned around and looked, and then one of the rounds hit the ground, bounced up, went into my jaw, lodged into my cheekbone, and I ended up losing 50% of my jaw and about 9 teeth. It never passed out, but I heard people, all my guys around me yelling for medic, and I didn't know who was hit, and I kind of rubbed my cheek and my chin, and I looked, and I seen the blood, and I said, oh, man, it must be me, and so I started yelling, and then, of course, when I yelled, I loosened the bullet came out, the piece and all that stuff came out, and I had the bullet in my hand for a while, but then my medic came and wrapped my head up.
You getting this visual? The area was so hot that he couldn't get airlifted out until the next morning. Fortunately, he lived to tell the story. So what got him through the ordeal? Have you heard that expression, well, if you can't take a joke?
Yeah, my sense of humor is I still have it. I'm so positive. I enjoy life, and I just don't let anything get me down.
Tom is no stranger to adversity. He says your attitude makes the biggest difference during the tough times, and he should know. Being shot in Vietnam wasn't the only thing he had to overcome.
Just in the last 8, 9, 10 months, I had prostate cancer, went to radiation, and then about 3 months after that, I had a heart attack, and I had a couple stents in my one artery. It was 99% blocked, and I got a little small one, about 50%. But I read a small book a long time ago, and it was just titled "Happiness is a Choice." And it's true. I'm not belittling people that have problems and how they get through them, and then maybe not get through them. But I just chose. No matter what goes on in my life, I'm not going to let that get me down, because I'm going to choose that no matter what. So that's kind of how I live. I started that when I was a young age.
Tom's not the only one who says a sense of humor and a positive attitude can help get you through almost anything. Laughter is strong medicine. You've heard that before, right? I know that it's easier to say than do sometimes, but there is wisdom there. And according to the Mayo Clinic, a few giggles can actually go a long way to relieving stress. And less stress is a prescription for a healthier you. His book, Shot in the Mouth and Still Preaching, recounts his mission in Vietnam, his home life, and the faith and philosophy that got him through the tough times. It's a book for anyone going through a crisis in their life, especially if it's one you're struggling to get through. So how did he feel when his life story was finally published?
It's overwhelming. And yeah, I couldn't believe it when I got the copy in my hand and I looked at Sandy, my wife, and said, look at this. This really happened. It encouraged me. The number of copies has been sold, and people that from our church and my friends and wherever are buying it and giving it for gifts. It's very, very, very humbling to me what's going on here.
Shot in the Mouth and Still Preaching by Tom Wilson, an encouraging book that'll show you that with faith and the right attitude, you can get through almost anything. It's available now on Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble and all the other places where you like to shop for books online. And that will do it for this edition of Newsgram from WebTalkRadio.com.